have sales experience and some of you don't. But the biggest thing you need when you're going to put on a fundraising is someone to fundraise for. You have to find a charity. Some of you, again, have something close to home. You have a school, a church, a group that you work with. Maybe you're part of some kind of a service organization. So that's always a good place to start. But if you don't have connections, where do you start? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go online. You're going to go to Yelp. You're going to go to Google. You're going to start looking for schools or churches in your area. You're going to send out some emails and make a phone call, and you're going to start to find somebody who wants to work with you. Most of these places need money, and most of them are tired of the old and tried and true ways of, sales and that kind of thing. So most of them are going to be interested in something new, and it's just a matter of finding out who wants to work with you. So the first thing we're going to do is start with a little bit of research. You can go online, you can go on Yelp, you can go on Google search, you can look at some Facebook, you can try LinkedIn. You're going to try and build a list of churches, schools. Private schools are good too. You're going to find charity and nonprofits in your area, and you're going to make a list of them. You're going to make a list of their email addresses, whatever they may have to offer, and you're also going to make a list of whatever you can find as far as phone numbers and names are concerned. It's easier to make the list first, and that way you can go ahead and just make your calls the next day without having to take up time going back and forth with the search. It's real easy to get sidetracked that way. So just sit down in front of TV or while you're talking to somebody and just make out a list, and that's a good place to get started. And when you start calling, you're going to try and identify the decision maker. That is, for those of you who have no sales background, the person who is able to make the decision. And that's really, really important. If you can find the right person to talk to, your chances of getting them on board is going to go up about 300% from what it would take if you were just asking somebody to pass your information along. So it's always really important to identify the decision maker. So when you make your calls, you're going to start off by asking about the group. You're going to find out what the group is made up of. For example, schools they may not do a general fundraiser, but they may have a band or a drama department or some kind of sports department that needs new equipment. Who wants to raise money within the area, and who is going to be in charge of making those decisions? So a sports department might have somebody, a parent that's in charge of trying to raise the money. The band might have a band booster club. The drama department may have a parents group that tries to get them what they need as far as very often they go on field trips or something like that. So you want to find out who is raising money in that school or in that church, and what groups you need to talk to, and who is the person in charge. Again, you need to make sure that you get to the decision maker. But if you take the time to ask about the organization's structure and its needs, it usually works out much, much better for you. Remember that we're always here to help. We'll be happy to help you with emails that you can send out if you've got a bulk email that you want to send out and find out what the response is. We have some programs that will send it out to a large number of people. We're happy to send you a script if you want to know what to say to these people. But generally, scripts are hard to work with because you sound very stilted when you're reading them. It's much better to understand the product and understand who you're talking to and just converse with them in an informal way. That's one of the reasons why our training is very informal, is because we believe that that's a good way to talk to our clients as well. And we want you to get used to having an interest in people without necessarily reading off a script. Scripts are difficult sometimes, but we'll be glad to send you something with some highlights if that's what you want. We also want to make sure that you can point out the benefits to the organization, and benefits to the organization are a very, very important part of getting them on board. So we'll talk about this again and again. The benefits are that what we are offering them is very easy. It's a lot of fun. It brings in money, and it leaves people with a very positive opinion of the organization, and there's very little for them to do. So it's a fairly quick turnover as far as money is concerned. They don't have a lot of counting to do. Basically, it's just something that's going to be easy and fun, and something that's going to leave everyone with a good feeling about the organization, versus having people buy wrapping paper that's overpriced or candy that is not really that great. There are a lot of ways that are fundraising that is just over, and we want something that's new and fun, and most of the time they're going to want something like that too. So what can we do for them? Well, we can set up the fundraising event as described in the previous lesson, or we can also do an actual event for kids or families or even adults. We can use one of our character events or a club game. You can set it up the event for them to run at a specific time and place, and they can charge for the tickets. You can run an event using one of our packages. Again, all you do is follow the instructions, and they pay a flat fee or a percentage of the tickets. So we have several different ways that we can work with these people, and it's a matter again of making sure that you talk to them and find out how much money they need, how much participation they have within their group, and how much, what sounds good to them. So that's a big part of it is what sounds interesting to them. So how do you decide what to tell them about? You don't want to just go in there and start throwing up all over them about everything that you have to offer. So the best thing to do is always qualify. Again, it's another sales term. Start with your contact with a prospective host by finding out what they want and what they need. Listen to your clients. Ask them questions. The more you find out about them, the more you find out about what they've done in the past, the more you find out about what they want to do, how much participation they have with their members, how much money they need, the more you can find out what would be the best program for them. And remember, we're always more than happy to answer emails for you, to talk to you. We'll even conference in, especially in the beginning with some of your clients. We want to get the right package to the right people, and that's what really makes a successful fundraiser. So be sure that you work with us, but also be sure that you gather as much information before you start telling them about what you can do for them. It's always better when you know more. So what can we do with you or for you? We're always happy to conference in on meetings, especially in the beginning, as I have mentioned. We can also send an invoice for a deposit explaining exactly what they will be getting and what services we will provide. These detailed invoices are always a good way to start, and we always like to get a deposit because we don't like to have people, we put in effort, you put in effort, the thing gets moving along, and they decide that, they really don't want to do it. Somebody complains, somebody decides that they want to do something else, and all of a sudden we're sitting there. If they don't have a deposit on, it's very easy for them to just go, oh well, we don't want to do it. So we always want to get a deposit. We take care of that. You need to tell them that. You also need to be sure that if it's a school especially, they're going to need insurance, and insurance is going to run you about $140 for the event. So you need to tell them that to find out if it's a school, a public school at least, whether they're going to need insurance, and you need to make sure that that's tacked on to the cost of what you're doing. Now that's if they're going to use school property. We do not need the insurance if you're going to do a regular fundraiser because it's not being held on the school property. It's only if you're going to do some kind of a school event using the school itself. So if you're going to do a fundraiser, don't worry about the insurance, the kind of fundraiser where you get the sponsors that we've been talking about. So you have to make sure that you know what product you're actually selling them because it makes a difference. It's always best to have them sell the tickets. Getting participants is a whole other part of the process, and it can be very time consuming on your part. So you want to keep it in close touch with them on how ticket sales are going, but you want to make sure that they can provide their own ticket sales to their own members. You can always add to that some if you want to, and you can play with ideas, but in the beginning you always want to work with a group that can get their own tickets sold. We're always happy to make suggestions or to forward videos that will help explain what we are doing to them, and we're always happy to work back and forth with you and with them so that we can get the very best turnout for the event. Well, we hope that explains a little bit about exactly how to put on a fundraiser for a charity group and how to identify them, how to go about finding them. The next portion of this is going to be about finding sponsors. Again, we are talking about the traditional fundraising group, not the clue game that you may be putting on for them. Because we have so many products, it does get a little bit confusing sometimes. But if you have any questions, if you want to know any more, be sure and email us at thestepintomysterytraining@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to get right back to you, and we can get back to you in a number of different ways. So give us a call. In the meantime, take a look at the next portion of the training for fundraising that talks about how to get sponsors on board.